Well, hello there. I'm actually here immediately after watching the 6.6 special program, which revealed a lot of stuff. But obviously, I am not going to talk about the Archon Quest because it's going to come out, well, kind of soon. And what I wanted to talk about is the end. Obviously, if you know Hoyoverse, and they always like to hide some Easter eggs after these special programs, like it has been for quite a while. So let's get started with that. Now, a bit of a warning before this video. This is solely my opinion and how I perceived and analyzed this thing with my own knowledge. I may be stupid, I know that, but it's solely on my own opinion and my own analyzation. Enjoy. So, first we meet the Honkai Star Rail looking as train, very similar, or at least. I've never played Honkai Star Rail, so I can't really judge here. And it's a train specially made for snowy weather, like Sinch obviously. We get to see the traveler inside walking, obviously, and it seems like we can walk around the train and explore them, and we can also see Sinch in the background. Okay, now this is huge. Not only that we can see Snezhnaya as a whole, but also the bits of the main city. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's called Snezhnograd, but it can also be wrong. And also, I can see the Statue of the Seven right back there, if it's a official in-game video. And a new character might be a 4-star polearm. Now, if you can see his hoodie or him or their hoodie, you can also see some kind of a pattern that is blocking their face, which mostly kind of resembled of an owl. And Cryo Traveler in the action. Not gonna lie, this is so cool. I've been waiting for this for 4 years and it's kind of crazy. Like Cryo Traveler after 4 years. You can see that Cryo Traveler can do something similar, like the Dendro Traveler, but also mark enemies. Some exploration details. I'm not sure what it is, but it seems like we can travel through them, like those electro portals in Inazuma, but with some sort of a mechanic. And we can also throw balls. Statue of the Seventh. Now, I have a little theory about them. So, if you haven't seen, I made a video about some lore implication, or what I most think with my observation, that there is few variants of the Statue of the Seventh. Most of them sitting, and some of them are standing. Now, if you realize that there's only 3 standing statues of the Seventh, aka Rydens, Ventis, and Focalors. Now, we didn't really get much explanation on that and why the other statues are sitting, like Tsaritsa, Morax, Mavuika, Nahida, and even the statue of the new moon with Colombina, she's also sitting. Now, my theory came up here that for those who had a standing statue of the Seventh, they were somehow connected to the 4 shining shades of the primordial one. How did I actually do that? What the hell was I thinking about? Now, the first thing, a long time ago, we thought that Vinti was somehow tied with the time itself, aka Istaroth. And later, it was actually revealed that he was one of the 4 winds, or created from 4 winds, but you get the point, he is somehow related to Istaroth. Now, Focalor. Now it's a bit much more explanatory. The Shade of Life, Niberius, created Egeria. She's literally the daughter of Niberius, and Niberius created Focalor, which is
Hydro Archon,
which she's also standing. So you get my point, you get the resemblance, right? Now, with Raiden, it's a bit difficult. Now, who the hell might be tied with Raiden? Now, it is kind of theorized that she is tied with Renova, because of the huge statue of the Renova that we see in Inazuma, and how there used to be visions and stuff. But I've also have heard that maybe people of Inazuma used to worship Renova, but it's kind of a miss or a head like theory. For some reason, we can also see Istarov having a lot more action in Inazuma as well, seeing that the second Raiden's story quest during the Cataclysm, how Makoto was talking to the Shades and blah blah blah. You already know that. If you don't, then go to the quest or just a short overview of that. And Enkanami as a whole, if I'm not mistaken, they used to worship her too. But she was under the name of Kairos, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that's the whole point. Tsaritsa is sitting, so there's no way that something is, like, she's connected somehow to the Shades, like many other Archons that are also sitting. So I hope you get my theory. Might be a bit long. I should make a much more better overview or deep dive into that theory, but I need a bit more information, more digging before I do that, so excuse me. Now towards the design of the Tsaritsa. The first we can see is a similar headpiece, aka it's called Kakoshnik or Kukushnik, or some other names that you can also call it is like Kakui, Kukushnik, Kukuynik, or Kukushnik. Now, I'm not sure which one is right or not, but that's what I found in my source, and it's mostly worn by married women. It's said to believe that after a woman got married, she has to hide her hair.
Now, if we take a closer look on the Tsaritsa statue of the Seven, we can see she's holding something in her hands. That is called Skipiter I Держава, or in English, just scepter and orb. In Russian, that means the Russian ruling, and it is, as you've seen in Frozen, mostly given if you coronate someone to a higher status like a queen. Now, Tsaritsa is the title of a ruler or the wife of the ruler in Slavic lands, mostly in Russian, while queen is the Western European equivalent of designating a monarch or the king's wife. However, the essence of both titles is supreme female authority. Obviously, I'm mostly basing this on the Russian side of the Slavic stuff because I mostly taught the Russian language and the Russian literature. So I'm taking off of that and I'm taking what I've learned at school. Now, of course, in the same things, there may be a different implication in different Slavic countries like Ukraine, Belarusia, Slovakia, Slovenia, and the rest.
And next, we could also see that the traveler is using their E-skill to transport into some kind of a different realm. Now, in this realm, we can see floating, broken a train that we saw earlier in the trailer. Obviously, I don't really know. It seems like it has to be something to do with the world quest. I don't know. It's like the parallel world from the actual Snezhnaya, or it is mostly abyss contaminated. Probably the safest option that is abyss because, well, purple equals, well, abyss most of the time. And in this clip, in this scene, we can see Traveler's new skin, which was actually revealed to us in the special Snezhnaya live stream. But now we can actually look at it up close. And it's kind of sad that we cannot really see the Lumine version in game because obviously the bias of Hoyover's literally feeding us propaganda that MC is Ether than Lumine, but whatever. You can also see him with a freaking gun, so come on, how epic is this going to ever be? And also, Ether has a strange earpiece of some sort on his right ear, which for some reason reminded me of the Akasha from Sumeru. I don't know what that means, and I have a theory that we might get the skin in the World Quest because I don't think Hoyoverse has some kind of a thing to reveal things from the Archon quest, so it's mostly maybe hinted on the World Quest. Obviously seems like he's alone for some reason this whole time. Paimon wasn't here. Strange, or maybe it's just like showing how things are going to be, but we all know that Paimon sticks around somewhere close. So during this whole thing with the Traveler, even in the train, we couldn't really see Paimon.
It's strange, isn't it? But that is my whole analyzation with the Snezhnaya end stream. What I'm also going to talk about a little bit on the Sumerian Oracle quest. I feel like because of the voice that we heard from Mysterious Man and the guy with the hoodie is definitely Pantalone.
It's... These degenerate rulers lost control over their nation.
Yeah, there's no hiding. It's fucking Pantalone, man. And we finally get to see him. So I guess the Tori and Pantalone shippers are going to be very happy. I don't know. The Tori is back like shit. The Ermansol, I think it's burning, and we're back to where we started, and it's the last Sumerian Archon quest. Which is crazy how they started Sumerian Archon quest, left it for fucking 4 years, and then finally came back with this. And obviously we know that this sort of patch is mostly the Dane quest, and we didn't really get any of that Dane action, maybe somewhere in 6.7 patch. Obviously you can do your own analyzation on the Archon quest, but it's going to come soon, and that's all my analyzations. Well, that's all for my video. I hope you actually enjoyed this type of content, and if you want more this kind of analyzation, then I will be happy to make it. And obviously, as I promised, I will someday will upload the video about the Statue of the Seven, but this time I will be actually explaining thoroughly and how I think and how it actually going to work out about that theory of the Statue of the Seven. If you enjoyed, see you later.